Welcome to September 9th City Council meeting. Mayor Venice is out of town due to a family emergency, so I am acting as mayor, as council president, and our council vice president, Councilor Semple, will act as president. First item on the agenda is a public forum. Public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearing official or on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. The timer and light indicate the time you have to speak. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes. And do we have the extra chair there? Yes. I'll call 2 names, and the first one come to the podium, the second be in the chair to the right, or to our right, and ready to speak when the time comes. First speaker is Sabrina Siegel, followed by Barbara Wade.
How many are there, Mayor?
35.
30? 35?
Good evening, Honorable Council. Duty of care is one of the most fundamental responsibilities that the officers and employees of the City of Eugene are legally and ethically obligated to uphold. The city attorney, however, has once again chosen to mislead the city council, the city manager, and employees about the extent of their duty of care and their potential liability for their negligent failure to perform that duty. The duty of care is synonymous with the precautionary principle, both of which require caution when there is foreseeable risk of harm. For many months, Families for Safe Technology and other knowledgeable community members have inundated the city council and the mayor and all of you with overwhelming evidence of harm from 5G technology to health, safety, security, and privacy. Without citing any actual law or authority or any other source, the city attorney has erroneously advised the city officials and employees that they cannot be held liable for the potential harm caused by not passing a moratorium, halting the 5G rollout, or continuing to give out permits to the telecom companies to install 5G small cell towers. In a memo sent out by the city manager responding to a notice of liability from a member of Families for Safe Technology, the city attorney has concluded that the city would not be liable if the council does not enact a moratorium on the installation of 5G technology, and that the city does not owe a duty of care in this situation with respect to 5G technology. The city does not owe. This is the city manager telling us that the city does not owe a duty of care to the city residents working or employees to regulate or to prohibit such technology. And this is incorrect.
Thank you. Next speaker is Barbara Wade, followed by Joshua Corn. And incidentally, if I mispronounce your name, you can pronounce it right when you get to the microphone.
Thank you. Barbara Wade. Good evening, councilors. I'm continuing with the duty of care. We are being told that the city, its officers and employees have no duty of care to do a moratorium to stop the 5G rollout. Does this mean they don't care about our health, safety, security, and privacy unless they are forced to care by some legal words on paper requiring them to care? If they believe that they could be held personally liable, would they then pass a moratorium for fear of the thousands of lawsuits sure to come as soon as people start connecting their new mysterious health symptoms with those ugly 5G cell towers in front of their homes, or when homeowners realize that no one wants to buy their house because it has one of those pesky 5G cell towers as lawn decoration? Here is what the Oregon Supreme Court had to say about the duty of care, government and public servant liability in Brennan versus City of Eugene, 1979. Oregon Revised Statute, Section 30, subsection 265(1) provides, quotes, "Every public body is liable for its torts and those of its officers, employees, and agents acting within the scope of their employment or duties, whether arising out of a governmental or proprietary function." Quote, "As a general rule, the scope of the duty owed is governed by the concept of foreseeability, and a defendant whose act injures another will be held liable for the injury only if the injury has a reasonable foreseeable consequence of the act," close quote. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Corn, followed by Victor Odlevel.
Joshua Corn, resident of South Eugene, continuing, quote, "The agent has an employment responsibility to process license applications pursuant to the requirements of the ordinance. Under general principles of common law negligence, the agent was required to perform this duty so as to avoid creating a foreseeable risk of harm to others." Quote, the City of Eugene argues that no duty whatsoever can exist because in enacting the ordinance, the City of Eugene did not intend to become the insurer of all its citizens. This argument misconceives the source of the licensing agent's duty to act with reasonable care. The responsibility to perform the act may arise from the ordinance, but the duty to perform the act with reasonable care arises from principle of common law negligence. It is immaterial whether or not the licensing agent intended to assume a duty in this case, just as it would be immaterial whether or not a private individual intended to assume a duty in doing a particular act. Virtually all government activities have their ultimate source in some legislative enactment, and to adopt the City of Eugene's theory would, in effect, restore the doctrine of sovereign immunity, which has been abolished by statute in Oregon, ORS 30, subsection 265, end quote. Quote, "The City of Eugene argues that despite the provisions of ORS 30, subsection 265, it should nevertheless escape liability because the agent's duty runs only to the public generally, not to individual members of the public. Defendant relies on numerous cases for this proposition."
Thank you. Next is
Victor Odlevac.
Followed by Robin Bloomgarden.
At the top of Lorraine Highway. These cases, which deal with a failure on the part of public officials to act at all, involve considerations quite different from those in a case such as this, where an act is alleged to have been performed and performed negligently. As a general rule, one is held to a higher standard of care when he affirmatively acts than when he fails to act at all. Another quote, any duty owed to the public generally is a duty owed to individual members of the public. This is the final judgment of the case. Another quote, plaintiff has alleged facts from which it can be concluded that the city employee failed to exercise reasonable care in issuing a license, and that this breach was the cause, in fact, of damage to plaintiff. The Supreme Court of Oregon has correctly declared that city officials and employees can and should be held liable under the law for their negligent actions performed with foreseeable knowledge of harm.
Thank you. Robert Bloomgarden, followed by Pete Knox.
Picking up from that last one, city officials believe they are not liable and have no duty of care to pass a moratorium halting the 5G rollout, so they continue to give out permits to telecom companies to install thousands of 5G antennas every 300 to 500 feet apart throughout Eugene. Many of these antennas are and will be as close as 50 feet or less from homes, businesses, schools, hospitals, parks, etc. These 5G small cell towers radiate electromagnetic signals through the air, which have been proven to be unsafe to all living things, according to the Bioinitiative report and thousands of peer-reviewed studies, half of which were collected by the United States Navy. Will city officials risk the wrath of the people once they find out what these officials have permitted to be done to them and future generations? Or will they do the right thing as they have been instructed to do and pass a moratorium halting this 5G menace before it's too late? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Pete Knox, followed by Tiffany Edwards.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Pete Knox. I reside in Ward 1. I'm vice chair of the Downtown Neighborhood Association. Come here tonight to express support for the MUFTI you'll be discussing on Wednesday for Ferry Street banner. Well, it is outside of our borders for downtown. Downtown Neighborhood Association has been a long-standing supporter of housing in and around downtown, and we urge that you grant this project. It will have, I think, very positive impact on downtown and the surrounding community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tiffany Edwards, followed by Ralph Partial.
Good evening, members of council. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Edwards with Ward 5, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Eugene Chamber of Commerce in support of the Ferry Street Manor's MUFTI application, which will be coming before you on Wednesday. The multi-unit property tax exemption is a much-needed tool to incentivize development that might not otherwise happen. The Ferry Street Manor project is being proposed by the Bennett family, who's deeply rooted and invested in this community and has been for generations. They are as local as they come. This project proposes to build new, much-needed middle housing in our city's center, enhancing this walkable, bikeable neighborhood and putting more eyes on the street and more customers near downtown retailers and other amenities. Projects like this are what is going to help us meet our climate goals, ease pressure on our infrastructure, and bring new front doors to house our growing community. This project will utilize an existing overflow parking lot, which has no access other than through the existing property, meaning that if the project can't happen, we lose the opportunity altogether. Over time, the property taxes generated on this parcel that would otherwise stay a parking lot are in the many millions, and 100% of those dollars remain local, unlike other sources of taxes that we pay to the state. Why would we deny this community nearly $10 million in revenue? The Ferry Street Manor is a project that is scalable to the neighborhood, and because it proposes a modest amount of housing with no retail or commercial components, it would need this investment tool. This is a function of its finances. Simply put, the bank requires that a project meet a certain threshold of operating income in order to meet the debt service requirements. This will also ensure reasonable rental rates for the residents. Now, I know some of you have mixed feelings about the MUPD, but I ask you not to let the perfect be the enemy of this incentive that we currently have in place. We have this tool, and the Ferry Street Manor project is the poster child for how, what, and why it's needed. Please support the MUPD application that's been recommended by the MUPD review panel and our city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ralph Parshall, followed by Bill Whalen.
Councilors, city manager, and staff, thank you for your service. You make a difference. My name is Ralph Parshall. I live at 2568 Elysium in Eugene. I've been here since 1970, and I've seen changes in downtown many times. And you've all helped to shape the downtown, keep it moving forward. What a great job you've done. It's more vibrant today than in many past years. Downtown Eugene needs more rental housing for young professionals who prefer to live in walkable neighborhoods with access to efficient transit. This project, the Ferry Street Manor, meets or exceeds all of the city's requirements for redevelopment. It maintains current tax rates for the property for 10 years. All that money that goes to the MUPD, those taxes come in. We don't lose those. Why would you pay additional taxes beginning in year 11? Because this is the right project. It's going to generate $9.5 million in taxes. The city can use that. And finally, the impact, the local impact, 67% of professional services and construction costs will be local. Those are jobs here in Eugene. And what a great project for us and the Bennett family to make a difference here in Eugene. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Bill Whalen, followed by Alexis Biddle.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm Bill Whalen. I live at 3118 Wolf Meadows in Ward 5, Councilor Clark's ward, and I work downtown. And I'm here to talk to you about the MUPD for the Ferry Street Manor, and I'm supportive of that, and I hope that you will vote in favor of that on Wednesday. But I want to talk a little bit tonight. I'm the Chief Credit Officer at Summit Bank, which is a locally headquartered bank here in Eugene. And I just want to talk, a lot of times we're focused in the MUPD about the profit that the developer makes and what the return on that investment is. But I want to talk a little bit about when they look at financing for one of these projects, what banks look at that requires them to make a certain amount of money. And so what we look at is we have what we call a debt service coverage ratio. And what that means is for every dollar of debt, we expect a project like this to have $1.30 of cash flow that comes off. And that's after all the expenses that they pay for the maintenance and utilities and all that. And so, they have to generate that to make these projects financeable for the banks. And so I wanted to make sure that the counselors look at that when they look at these MUPD and not just look at the profit that everybody focuses on, because there's other things to make these projects financeable within the banking industry is they have to meet certain criteria. And one of them is that cash flow coverage. And so I want you to, that in this project, with its MUPD, it does make that 1.3 debt service coverage that we talk about, that would be required on most financing for this. It's one we would require if we looked at financing a project like this. So I just wanted to share that with you tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Alexis Biddle, followed by Chelsea Jennings.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Alexis Biddle, and I'm with 1,000 Friends of Oregon and a resident of Ward 3. 1,000 Friends of Oregon has been Oregon's land use watchdog for over 45 years, ensuring that we steward our urban and rural lands for generations of Oregonians. The people of Eugene cherish our urban growth boundary and the rural farm and forest land that it protects. This is reflected in the pillars of Envision Eugene and the approach we have decided to take our growth as a community. The nearly decade-long process of Envision Eugene distilled the values of our community. We want to protect our natural resources and address climate change at the local level. We want to provide affordable housing and economic opportunity for all. We want to be able to walk, bike, use personal mobility devices, or take transit to get to where we need to go. We want to maintain livable neighborhoods as we accommodate growth. I'm here today to encourage you to take action on housing by legalizing more opportunities for accessory dwelling units. ADUs are not a panacea for the goals of our community, but they are a step in the right direction. No single policy will make our housing affordable to everyone, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to zero, or remove the scars of exclusionary zoning of our past. However, legalizing more small backyard cottages will be a step in the right direction for addressing all of those concerns. These smaller homes will add to our affordable housing stock, provide aging residents with the ability to stay in their neighborhoods in homes appropriate for the size of their households as they age, increase the energy efficiency of our community by reducing heating costs in smaller homes, allow more people to live near opportunities for employment, and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions through providing more housing near destinations within walking distance of stores, doctors, schools, and social services. I am submitting written testimony for your consideration next week with the details of the best policies to encourage the development of this type of infill development, including removing parking barriers and owner occupancy requirements and allowing accessory dwelling units on lots of every size and dimension. ADUs are among the most gentle forms of infill to accommodate affordable housing and sustainable housing. We are here, they will help us meet our goals of our community and prove that gradual and incremental infill will help Eugene remain a welcoming place for everyone. Thank you for all of your tireless service.
Thank you. Chelsea Jennings, followed by William O'Brien.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Chelsea Jennings, and I recently moved to Eugene from Springfield. I live at 1424 West 4th Avenue in Ward 7. I moved in with my partner, Aaron, earlier this year, and I'm here tonight because the issue of ADUs and affordable housing directly affects us and my family. I grew up with a single mom who sacrificed everything in order to give me opportunities that she never had. We faced financial hardships over the years, and as a result, my mom has no savings and no retirement at all. She now also has mobility and health issues, and starting next week, she will no longer have a job and will be relying mostly on Social Security and will no longer be able to afford her mortgage at the house she owns in Springfield, which we put up for sale in July in anticipation of her transition to a fixed income. My partner and I are lucky enough to be in a situation where he owns our home in Eugene, and there is a detached garage unit that could easily be converted into an ADU for her. But when we set up a meeting to discuss converting that garage unit into an ADU, we got a call quite literally the day before our scheduled meeting with the city, telling us that it would be a waste of our time to keep our scheduled meeting because there would be absolutely no way that our ADU would be permitted. And the main reason was because of our lot size. The minimum required lot size for an ADU is currently at 6,100 square feet, and our lot is at 5,700. We were denied even a meeting because of 400 square feet. We felt heartbroken, angry, and extremely dismissed. The fact that we even have the resources to build an ADU for my mom is a huge privilege that many do not have. Senior citizens on fixed incomes are at a high risk of becoming unhoused, and that's not something many of us think about when we think about the housing crisis, but I was forced to think about it when my own mother having nowhere to live became a very, very real possibility. I'm asking you tonight to consider the real-life impact that your decisions have on families like mine. Everyone is affected by the housing crisis we are facing. Council, I urge you to remove all barriers to building ADUs in Eugene. Please contribute to the solution and not the problem. Everyone should be allowed to build affordable housing for their families and for the community. It should not be this difficult to house ourselves, our loved ones, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is William O'Brien, followed by Amy, just a minute, followed by Amy Pinkin, I think. Pinkin.
Yeah, the Families for Safe Technology is a very hard act to follow. They really studied it in great detail. And unfortunately, I haven't, but I have some ideas, which we'll see what they amount to. Now, I showed Claire Surratt a picture of a 4G cell tower on the building that I live on. In. It's basically, I believe it's over 5 apartments. The microwave frequency, according to a Verizon representative, was at our last community meeting, said it goes down, the microwave frequency, it goes up, and it goes, horizontal to repeaters. So these repeaters are everywhere. This is 4G, I'm sorry. And I was under the impression it was 5G. But I think it can very well easily be adapted to 5G. And as far as I know, reading a letter from Representative DeFazio to Federal Communications Commission, he wrote this letter in April 15th. And he said that the FCC's guidelines in 1996 it was adopted in 1996, okay, maybe when there was 2, 3, or even 4G, I don't know all that. But it's going to 5G, and Representative Fazio asked to see comments from the FCC in 2013 on safety guidelines. Should they be reassessed 4G, 5G? And he's been waiting now for 6 years, and he says the FCC has not conducted a reassessment, even in its 1996 guidelines. And I believe they didn't even get back to him. And also, they have, he just basically says, the federal government has not been transparent enough about the current status of 5G radiation in its guidelines and its RF exposure limits. So in a way, I got this, this is sitting right in someone's house, apartment, and it's right there, I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of people are freaked out, including myself. How much time do I got? Oh, Jesus. Basically, with little I know, just what I read in the papers, China has 5G, Yahweh, it's going to Europe. We're paranoid of China, so we got to have our own 5G. The way I look at it is maybe this, what do you want to call it? Fiber optic cable?
Thank you.
Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know, not these repeaters, not these guys.
Next speaker is Amy Pincus, followed by Abe Ludke.
Hi, I know a lot of you folks, and nice to see you. Thank you very much for the service, and thanks very much for taking care of people in our community. My husband, Stephen Merwin, and I have, my name is Amy Pincus, and I'm in Ward 4, and we built 3 homes at 2220, 2218, and 2214 Sandy Drive, where we lived formerly for 20 years, raised our kids. Just as we were completing 2220, we realized that the rental home next door was going to become a elder daycare for people living with dementia. I was concerned about what that meant for our whole neighborhood, so I did a lot of research, and what I realized was that there's this giant loophole in the state, the county, and the city. I talked to all the relevant people, and I've got a packet here for you, which my husband will pass out, if that's okay. Okay. One for John Ruiz, please, and then one for the rest of the counselors. And what we realized is that if a community, a facility is being set up in a neighborhood, residential neighborhood, and it is not going to be Medicare or Medicaid certified, it's going to be private pay, and they're going to have people with, serving people with dementia, that there's literally no oversight. It's a giant loophole. There's none. And so we've lived for and owned property next to an Oregon supported living program home since 1991. We've had no problems with our neighbors. We're completely on good graces with them and them with us. We have members of our family who have dealt with dementia. My husband's had a stroke. My mother-in-law had dementia, and my sister had a major head injury in 1971 and lives with head injury issues. The problem is that these people do not appear to be securing their home. You'll see on page 3 of the handout pictures in which they've put up a little fence made out of lattice and 1x2s, and the owners of the dementia care daycare facility are themselves 74 and 79. And if people living with dementia were to get agitated or to become confused or want to wander, coming out of that little lattice fence isn't going to do anything. So for our situation, certainly we want to see oversight. But for every situation where there's going to be dementia care in a neighborhood, we'd like to see oversight, and we are urging you to create rules to eliminate the loophole that's left by the county and the state. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Abe Lubke, followed by Dove Sykes.
Good evening, council members. My name is Abe Ludke. I live in Ward 3. I'm from South Eugene High School, and I'm sure some of you recognize me. It seems like just yesterday that I was a freshman in high school, coming to my first city council meeting to voice my support for the Climate Recovery Ordinance and the Climate Action Plan. I'd like to acknowledge all of the work and effort put into these projects since then, but I will say that the lack of urgency and priority on behalf of the council has kept the city falling short of its goals and is frustrating and frightening for me and my generation. It's been 3 years since I first set foot in this room, and I'm still demanding the same thing. The thing we need to save our future, planet, and beautiful environment we are so lucky to enjoy in Oregon. That thing is completely transitioning off fossil fuels to renewable energy. The council has the unique opportunity to achieve this, and it must be done. As you may know, a climate strike on September 20th is occurring across the globe. I'm doing my part to lead my school's walkout in this strike. We're having activities and rallies in the Free Speech Plaza, and afterwards, the youth are holding a meeting right here in Harris Hall from 2 to 4 p.m. We cordially invite all of you to attend this meeting and listen to the youth articulate our climate action demands. Please come and listen to the urgent concerns of the youth of your community and the future generation of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Dove Sykes, followed by Ryan Moore.
Good evening, council members. My name is Dover Sykes, and I'm a 17-year-old student at South Eugene High School. This is my first time testifying at City Council. I was compelled to speak because I know that there is an issue where you, as City Council, have actual power to make lasting positive change that will determine the fate of my future. As of now, the City Council has further moved to jeopardize my future by extending its contract with Northwest Naturals for 6 more months. We cannot continue to incentivize natural gas. Regardless of what is advertised, it is not eco-friendly and it is not a viable option. It is a carbon emitter, and in order for the city to meet its sustainability goals it agreed to, its use cannot be encouraged. This behavior is disappointing, but it's not new. It's the same type of behavior that led us to this point right now, prioritizing economic interest over social welfare. We must move towards a regulation where all new construction cannot use gas. This is possible. Berkeley City Council has already enacted this. Now, the impact of this regulation is not limited to one town, and it sends a clear message that others can hope to imitate. It acknowledges climate change and begins a step in the vital transition to a carbon-neutral economy. I am 17 years old, and I implore all of you to act in a way that will not deny me or my generation the essential rights to life or land. I hope to see all of you at the Climate Strike Rally on September 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ryan Moore, followed by Tim Morris.
Hello, councilors. Welcome back. Nice to see you again. My name is Ryan Moore. I live in Ward 8. That's a tough one to follow. And I hope you take to heart what she said too. Something I've been talking a lot about is how young folks are stepping up because it's our futures at stake in this climate fight. So please take that to heart. I wanted to underscore my friend Chelsea's testimony from earlier today when she talked about the ADU she wanted to build for her disabled mother. I had the chance to go out there myself and look at the property. She was not exaggerating. It would be a very simple conversion to make it habitable. I want to point out something she didn't mention, though, and that's that within HB 2001, the two ADU components of that bill, it bans restrictions based on off-street parking and on owner occupancy. Both of those requirements are already met at Chelsea's property. They live on site and there is a lengthy driveway with ample room for parking. So I would encourage you to go even further than complying with state law when you're looking at ADUs. As she talked about, we need to look at things like lot size, right? It's not enough to enable people who need this housing to simply go along with what state law requires. We need to go further. So thank you again. Welcome back.
Thank you. Next is Tim Morris, followed by Dave IGL. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for hearing from me. My name is Tim Morris. I live in Ward 1. Welcome back from your vacation. You all look tan and happy. I'm glad to see it. So I am the board president of the Springfield Eugene Tenant Association, although I'm not here under that hat. I'm here as a local renter and tenant who is talking about accessory dwelling units. We are facing a housing crisis, and every projection that is coming out is getting worse and worse, and things are not looking good. We need to make sure that we are allowing every opportunity for additional housing to be built and other people here in the city to find shelter. That's homeless people, that's renters, that's senior citizens that are looking to downgrade. In 2018, Lane County was 700 units short of sheltering new projected incoming residents. That's the new incoming residents, not the folks that are living here. And to give you just a brief snapshot of what that looks like, the point in time count in 2019 has a 32% increase in homelessness. I really hope I don't shock you all when I say that there's a direct correlation between housing and homelessness. If I do, that's concerning. So to give you a personal snapshot of what I'm talking about, especially when it comes to renting, I myself, when I applied for my rental unit, I applied within the first hour that it was posted. It's a great time for me to do so. I was the 8th person in line. At the end of the day, there were 27 total applications within a day of them posting. That's how many people are looking for a new rental unit every single day. 27 people for this one particular place in downtown Eugene, which is kind of expensive. So I want to really point out, I believe it was Councilor Zelenka that said, we do not need a silver bullet, we need silver buckshot. And that is a metaphor that really resonates with me. And the accessory dwelling units is a perfect opportunity to have silver buckshot. And someone up there, I'm sure. Lifting restrictions on accessory dwelling units will be a perfect opportunity for developers to have access to new properties that they'll be able to construct. A perfect opportunity for a family that is struggling to make ends meet in order to add additional revenue to their pocketbook. And exciting new opportunities for new renters that have just moved out of their parents' homes or senior citizens that have had their children move out of their homes. And as a very distinct side note, this is a perfect opportunity to prevent new gas lines to be built in these new units. Yeah. We cannot let affordable and accessible housing suffer from death of 1,000 cuts or from irrelevancy and overburdening restrictions. Accessory dwelling units need to have as many opportunities to be able to be built as possible here in Eugene. And I urge you to please lift all restrictions. Thank you.
Next speaker is David Igel, followed by Otis Root.
David Eigel, I have the honor and pleasure of having Emily Semple be my representative. I haven't heard anything from Mr. Evans about my offer to donate $25,000 to the City of Eugene contingent upon his successfully defending the Dunn report. It appears Mr. Evans doesn't believe in the accuracy of the Dunn report. Mr. Evans allowed the prestige of the council to be utilized by the loudmouth New Yorker, Mr. Schill, to promote his dishonest anti-Oregonian filth about our history. At the time of the renaming, Mr. Schill knew that the Dunn report was intellectual garbage. Shortly after the renaming of Dunn Hall, I quietly sent Mr. Evans a copy of my report. He never responded or took any action. I waited months before approaching the city council about this matter. I simply have asked Mr. Evans for the last 2 years to act in a decent and honorable manner. He has had 2 years to deal with this matter and has done nothing. Mr. Schill is promoting his Dunn report that selectively used, misused, omitted, and fabricated information to defame Professor Dunn as well as the people of Oregon. Had Professor Dunn actually been leading or even a member of a group of cheap, money-hustling fraternal order salesmen who went about claiming that the U of O was run by secret Jesuit priests so as to separate their victims from $10 bills, he would have been a hated man rather than the beloved man that he was. So beloved, in fact, that a building was named in his honor 25 years after his death. We know from the work of reporter Harry Crane, whose work is cited by the Dunn report, that the man who actually organized and initially operated the local chapter was C. Nelson Jones, not Professor Dunn. That's right, it was in the newspaper. For some reason, the historians chose to omit this fact from their report. I again urge the city council to do the right thing, that is to tell the simple truth and issue a statement that Mr. Evans did what he did on his own and that he did not represent the city in this matter. To do otherwise is unnecessarily to entwine the city of Eugene with Mr. Schill's drama queen nonsense. It would be best if Mr. Evans led the way. It is important to keep in mind that Mr. Schill is not and never will be a duck. He'll never amount to more than a quack. As a born and raised Eugenian, I find it disgusting that anyone would ever suggest that the U of O of 1962 with President Arthur Fleming, Bill Bowerman, and Len Casanova, and Phil Knight was, sort of around, would ever honor a racist and religious bigot. Thank you for all you've done in helping our community, and my report is available at realdunn.blog.
Thank you. Next speaker is Otis Root, followed by Dimitri Hahn.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you enjoyed your vacations. But now it's back to business. Are your feet dry? Mine aren't. I'm here once again for you, as in the past, to speak to you. I am the voice of the voiceless, those who have no voice, okay? And it's come to my attention because I'm one of them. I'm one of your neighbors. I live in Eugene. My name's Otis Root, okay? And I have a unique perspective. This land is my land. This land is your land, from California to the New York Island, all right? As long as gravity works, my feet are on the ground, I am home. This planet is my home. This is Earth, okay? I've chosen this city as my home. I live among you. I am your neighbor. Okay? And I speak for the homeless because I am one of the homeless. Do you know where I live? No, because you've chased me out. You've made me unwelcome. You've made us unwelcome. Even your sanctuaries, your churches. I am currently persona non grata at a church that is supposed to be a sanctuary, yet they pay no taxes. The land that this church inhabits was donated to them, okay? They pay no taxes to the city, state, or federal government, yet they're more than willing to call the police on me and use, the police are city employees, they're taxpayer funded. That's my money. I pay taxes, state tax and things like that, however it works. But anyway, I don't see how the church can use city assets to chase people off of a property that they don't actually own. It was donated to them, given to them. This land was given to me on the date of my birth, the same as it was to you. I mean, if you have a raccoon in your yard, you don't chase it off. You say, oh, look how cute. What a cute little raccoon. But if there's a gentleman sleeping in a sleeping bag in your yard or on the sidewalk in front of your house, oh, not in my backyard, not in my front yard, not in my neighborhood, he's got to go. He's got to go. And, I carry everything I own. This is all I have in the world at this point in time. Because the police, at any point in time, can chase me down the sidewalk and tell me I'm trespassing. How much money do you have in your pocket? I got about 46 cents. They're gonna write me a ticket. I have to appear in court. I don't have the money to pay that. What good does that do me? Are you gonna get your money? No, you're not gonna get your money. I'm gonna go to jail. What is that gonna cost the city? Okay? And I'm one among many. We are your neighbors. We are not trash. And that's one of my things. Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Have a good night.
Next is Dimitri Hahn, followed by Kimberly. I'm not sure if the last name's Brown or what, but she'll know who she is. Thank you.
That was a very poignant talk. Greetings, counselors. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Demetria Hahn. I'm a resident here of Lane County. I'm here with some of my colleagues from the Lane County Advocacy Committee of Oregon Recovers. We are part of a statewide nonprofit focused on lowering Oregon's substance abuse disorder rate and increasing its addiction recovery rate. We have met with a few of you regarding this resolution, and we thank you for those productive conversations. I'm feeling pretty intensely about this today, so I'm having a hard time speaking with you, getting a little bit choked up. You know, our goal ideally was to have the resolution voted on by the council ahead of time for the Lane County walk that we're having on Saturday, the 14th. Given that Councilor Ye will be meeting so kindly and bringing the resolution to you at a later date, we would ask that you vote yes at that time. And we also thank you very much for your consideration and hope that you join us for the walk this Saturday. My colleagues and I are going to take 3 minutes each and present you with some relevant data regarding the public crisis that is addiction, and share some personal narrative insights around how this public crisis has impacted us, and me very deeply too, your constituents. In addition, your constituents here in the audience today that are not addressing you are also part of the statewide movement to call attention to the public health crisis of addiction. We are part of a larger effort here in Lane County and throughout the state, and we hope that this resolution effort is only the beginning of our partnership with you, because we each have the power of choice. And when we choose to act upon and use this power individually, and then join together collectively through the force of this conscious recognition to create through intention, we then become the kind of united front which generates the conditions needed to bring about deep, lasting, meaningful, and life-enhancing change. We are here today to ask you to resolve both individually and collectively to join with us in this way to help transform the enormous public health crisis that addiction has become. As you can see, pouring out into our streets, our sidewalks, our overflowing human services. We thank you in advance for hearing us today, and we'll each adhere to our 3-minute limit. And we are happy to take questions from counselors here today and hopefully conversations to come in the future. We are grateful for your partnership in this effort, and we wish you a very gracious good evening.
Thank you. Kimberly, followed by Terry Morgan.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Brown. I live in West Eugene. I stand before you as a volunteer advocate in Lane County for the Oregon Recovers movement. I stand before you as well as a clinical supervisor and addictions counselor for South Lane Mental Health Substance Use Disorders Program. Beyond that, I hold positions on many boards in the community, including a position on the Human Services Advisory Board at Lane Community College. I'm a devoted and active mother and grandmother. I hold healthy relationships. I'm trustworthy, responsible. I pay taxes. I'm a productive member of society. I say none of this today for the purpose of shining the light on my ego. I say all of this today for the purpose of shining light on the fact that none of this would have been possible had I given up on accessing residential treatment services. because what I am also is a person in recovery, a person who used substances in any form to escape and to cope with life, with the life I was handed as a child and then the life I created as an adult. Because I had no idea until I was graced with the opportunity to work on myself that a different life was possible. In 2011, facing prison time, none of my children in my custody, and having gone against every personal value I believed in, I was at an absolute rock bottom. I began to search for residential treatment services. I called many. All of them explained to me that I would be put on months-long waiting lists and that I was to call weekly to keep my name on the list and prove my determination. All of them told me I would need to have at least 30 days sobriety in order to get a bed. I remember thinking, if I could hold on to 30 days clean time on my own, I wouldn't need to look for support. Regardless, I kept calling. I held on to clean time somehow, and 3 months later, I got the call that a bed was available. Today, my life looks much different than it did then. With support, I'm living, breathing absolute truth that recovery is possible. I could not have done it alone. My recovery story outcome does not have to be rare. Today, I work with many who are reaching out for the same support I was seeking 8 years ago, and 8 years later, nothing has changed. Recovery is possible. People want to be their best selves. Everyone deserves the opportunity to recover. My life is dedicated to helping those seeking recovery. Oregon Recovers has dedicated their energy to the same. We need your help. We need your support. With your help standing hand in hand with us to advocate change, that change becomes possible. Thank you very much for your time and for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Terry Morgan, followed by Bonnie Wyndham.
Hello, my name is Terry Morgan. I am the program director at Springfield Treatment Center. I'm a licensed drug and alcohol counselor, and I am a steering committee member with Oregon Recovers. I'm a member of the Lane County Pain Guidance Council and participate in other community meetings that address addiction and treatment. I'm on the board of directors at the Jesco Club, and I'm an active participant in 12-step recovery meetings, and I have been a member of New Life Church for nearly 6 years now. I am a mother of 4 and a Lane County resident. I am also a recovering drug addict who struggled with alcohol and drug abuse for many years, and I am a domestic violence survivor. I was estranged from my family, and my youngest daughter, who is with me here today, was placed in foster care due to my drug use. I was homeless, unemployed, and I used to commit crimes to support my drug use. Before I got clean, I was so malnourished that I was bruised from my ankles to my hips. My hair was falling out. My teeth were all broken and infected, and during my active use, I was in and out of trouble with the law, whether that was police contact due to domestic violence call or due to being arrested for being involved in a crime, and I was in and out of hospitals for issues related to my drug use a multitude of times. Looking back on it now, I am shocked to admit that not one time did anyone ask me if I wanted help. No healthcare professional or law enforcement officer mentioned treatment or recovery options. I can only guess that that is because of the stigma of drug addiction and that few people seem to understand and believe that recovery is possible. After DHS stepped in and placed my daughter in foster care, I was finally able to get into residential treatment after months of being on a wait list and fearing I would not make it. I remember calling my caseworker in tears, begging for her to find me a bed at a facility anywhere, telling her if I don't get in somewhere, I am not going to live through this. Once I got the help I so desperately needed, I was able to stop using and have stayed stopped ever since. I am here today as living proof that we do recover. I have moved past my addiction and created a healthy, successful, enriching life in long-term recovery. There are people in my life who I love and care about deeply who are also working on their recovery after years of drug abuse. We need to ensure this opportunity is offered to everyone by changing how we as a community address drug addiction, treatment, and recovery. Thank you.
Thank you. Bonnie Wyndham, followed by Deborah McGee.
Thank you. My name is Bonnie. I actually live in Corvallis, but I work in downtown Eugene. I work for the city of Eugene. I am not here in my professional capacity tonight. I have my Oregon Recovers hat on. I am also a mentorship volunteer with Sponsors, Inc. here in Eugene. I am not a person in recovery, but I have grown up as a daughter and a friend to people who have struggled with substance use disorders. I have also survived domestic violence related to substance use disorders, and I have experienced firsthand the difficulty of accessing treatment here in Eugene. I'd like to share with you some statistics on addiction in Oregon and some that are specific to Eugene and Lane County. In 2016, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services showed Lane and Lynn counties as ranking in the top 7 in the state for drug poisoning deaths per 100,000 people. This number does not include suicides related to addiction. 1 to 2 Oregonians die every day from drug overdoses. 5 die daily from alcohol use, and more than 2,100 Oregonians die every year from drug and alcohol use. To give you some perspective, during the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s, Oregon saw 362 AIDS-related deaths total. We are seeing 2,100 addiction-related deaths every year. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, even though Oregon has the nation's 4th highest addiction rate, we rank dead last in access to treatment. This one is personal for me. Last year, my closest friend decided it was time to seek treatment. It took the 2 of us 6 days, working 6 to 8 hours a day, making phone calls, sitting in waiting rooms, and jumping through hoops, to be told that my friend could have a treatment bed in 6 weeks. During that time, my friend was required to call every day at 6 a.m. to be told whether they had to show up for something that day to prove their determination. This unpredictability forced my friend to give up their job. If I called my physician today because a chronic health condition had made my life unbearable and was asked to wait 6 weeks or more to be seen and to prove my dedication, I would find it absolutely ridiculous, and my guess is that you would too. Addiction is a chronic health condition that requires a lifetime of care. We do not ask patients with other chronic health conditions to wait a month or more for treatment. We do not ask them to dismantle their lives to prove their determination to recover, and we certainly do not refuse to continue treating them if the initial treatment does not work. We are grateful for the opportunity to address you tonight. We have presented some of you with a proposed resolution to declare addiction a public health crisis in Eugene, and we urge you to vote yes when Mayor Vinnis returns. We also invite you to join us as we advocate during the 2020 legislative session when the Alcohol and Drug Policy Commission will roll out their strategic plan to increase recovery support and access to treatment in Oregon. We also would love it if you would come and walk with us on Saturday at the Lane County Walk for Recovery. You can visit OregonRecovers.org to register and learn more about our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah McGee, followed by Linda Perrine.
Good evening. My name is Deborah McGee, and I live in the county. I hope you all had a joy-filled summer break and have arrived back refreshed to do the work of the people of Eugene. I know you realize we are in a climate emergency and that we must seize every opportunity to rise to the challenge. My concern tonight applies to your climate action plan targets directed to phase out fossil fuels, and specifically the most dangerous climate pollutant, natural gas, as quickly as possible. After the July council meeting and the presentation on the Northwest Gas franchise agreement, we were encouraged that you set a 6-month period to present a plan from staff and not a whole year. What bothered me was the staff's response that 6 months is not enough time. Too busy, really? We've known since April 2018 about the franchise agreement renegotiation and the need to meet the CAP targets. With the Good Climate Action Plan in 2010, the Climate Recovery Ordinance in 2014, and a reboot of CAP 2.0 in 2016 policy that directs staff to take action, why are they dragging their feet on the franchise agreement renegotiation? Can it be they only half-heartedly support climate action at all? Are they following your directions for implementation? It doesn't seem like it's a priority for them. Since we've been urging you to take bold climate action, the message we get since 2014 has been, it's too hard. Anything Eugene does is so small in the big picture, it doesn't really matter. This is from staff leaders. It's not what we're hearing from you, but certainly those implementing the CAP are better at scheduling meetings than they are about taking the steps that require real action. If there is not fire in the belly of our leaders for this climate emergency, then that clearly explains the shocking lack of progress we see. We have not and will not, according to the current gap analysis, reduce our emissions to even get close to our targets. Are you happy with that? If not, you must do something. Since the original plan in 2010, we have spectacularly failed to seize opportunities as they present themselves, like the natural gas franchise agreement renegotiation. At our monthly meetings with your CAP staff, it is one excuse after another, with few answers to our in-depth analysis and questions. We now have an opportunity to bring new and enlightened management to our city. I appreciate the work of John Reese, and I respect that he recognized it's time to pass the torch. Councilors and mayors come and go, but not staff at the executive level, and they have the power to implement your policies or not. Are you going to fight for us to hire an awesome city manager with proven experience to lead our community and take real climate action that shows real results? It's a big job, but the perfect person's out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Perrine, followed by Linda Heil.
Good evening. My name's Linda Perrine. I'm in the 97405 zip code. Councilors, thank you for demonstrating commitment to a new Northwest Natural franchise agreement in the next 6 months. The new franchise agreement must begin to implement Eugene's climate recovery ordinance goals and phase out natural gas use in Eugene. The new agreement must make 3 strong commitments. 1, no new Northwest Natural accounts, period. 2, no new gas service incentives allowed by Northwest Natural immediately. 3, initiate a customer fee of $5 per residence and $50 per business to be collected by City of Eugene in a clean energy fund. The clean energy fund would be used to give low-income incentives to transition from gas to electric appliances. City of Berkeley has passed a ban on new residential gas service starting January 1, 2020. City of Seattle is considering a similar ban on gas service. Eugene thinks of itself as progressive, yet has no plan in place to implement its cap or carbon reduction citywide. Concurrently, we need to ramp up green electricity. Council and EWEB must communicate continuously and clearly for us to succeed. Hydropower will falter due to increasingly unreliable stream flow, and transmitting hydropower requires unbroken infrastructure spread across large areas. Communities across Oregon and the U.S. are building solar energy generation and storage facilities right now. Solar power passes over our heads every day here in Eugene, with more sunny blue sky days every year. Storage technology is rapidly advancing in the form of batteries and fuel cells. Solar is cost-effective, local, and perfectly suited to power microgrids in the event of a natural disaster. It is unexcusable to ignore solar energy for resilience in a city at risk of a massive earthquake, floods, fire, and climate crisis dangers. It is past time for Eugene to shun natural gas and build a 21st century solar-powered microgrid local energy system that is backed up by hydropower and wind as needed. Please plan a solar energy work session with local solar companies by the end of 2019. Please start Eugene's CAP implementation by decreasing carbon emissions with new Northwest Natural franchise agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Linda Heil, followed by Jim. Is that New? Yeah. I thought it was. Jim, followed by Jim New.
Hello, councilors, and welcome back from your summer break. I hope each of you had a rejuvenating vacation and are ready for crunch time to complete the climate action plan. There are big decisions that council is responsible for, and it will take more discussion before those decisions are made. But there are no work sessions about the CAP or the GAP strategies currently scheduled. Councilor Taylor, please ask tonight for regular work sessions over the fall months for completing the CAP. There are openings beginning on September 18th. Let me relay a story told to us by a prominent community member this month. She attended a public tour on August 7th of a 6-story, 110-unit apartment complex being built at 35 Club Road in Eugene. It's going to be LEED Gold, so it's energy efficient and eco-friendly, and it will be heated with natural gas. The builder, Essex Construction, told the tour group that the incentives that Northwest Natural offers, paying for some of the infrastructure, et cetera, made choosing gas a no-brainer, and that the same thing had been true for Amazon Corners. You have been given a list of 16 GAP strategy actions to decide among for the Climate Action Plan. 11 of those strategies relate to gas. We ask you to include in the cap actions 4 and 6 specifically, prohibiting incentives for new gas customers and prohibiting installing gas in new construction. Neither of these two changes would affect a single current customer. Eugene will be following the vanguard of Berkeley, California, where new construction with gas was recently prohibited, Seattle, which is formulating such a ban now, and Oakland and San Luis Obispo, which are implementing plans to eliminate gas use in buildings by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jim New, followed by Ferry Schultz, I think.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Jim New. I live in Ward 7. As you have just heard, this past July, the city of Berkeley, California passed an ordinance banning gas installations in new low-rise residential buildings. Another 60 cities within the state of California and 100 cities and towns nationwide are considering changing building code measures to promote electric appliances as a solution to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Just last week, the city of Seattle is considering a ban on natural gas piping systems and new structures starting next summer. The decision by the Berkeley City Council was based on a California Energy Committee study of the impacts of electrification on greenhouse gas emissions from different types of buildings. This ordinance had the support of the local gas utility, Pacific Gas and Electric, who stated, and I quote, "They understand avoiding investments in new gas assets that might later prove underutilized as local governments and the state work together to achieve decarbonization objectives." In all the work sessions, presentations, and discussions between the City of Eugene and Northwest Gas, never did I once hear them promote the ban of continued use of gas in new construction to achieve a reduction in city and state overall greenhouse gas emissions. Oregon has similar carbon reduction goals as California, so why wouldn't Northwest Gas be as committed to reaching those goals as Pacific Gas and Electric? Methane and natural gas is a short-lived climate pollutant that is more potent than the carbon dioxide when leaked. Researchers that state the majority of the emissions come from aging gas infrastructure and leaks inside buildings emitting nitrogen dioxide, formaldehyde, and carbon monoxide. 13 million metric tons of natural gas, 2% of the gas produced in the U.S. in 2018, was lost to leakage. In the coming months, you have the opportunity by giving direction to city staff to formulate policy that will reduce greenhouse gas emissions from natural gas in our community. This can be done by making changes in local building codes, prohibiting new gas infrastructure and new construction, prohibit financial incentives for gas service installations, and incentivizing fuel switching from gas appliances to electric. You just need the political will to do it. Lastly, I would like to thank City Manager John Ruiz for having regular discussions with 350 Eugene and hearing our side of the climate story. Congratulations on your retirement, Mr. Ruiz, and if you feel the need to volunteer, we'd provide you with one of these fancy shirts and a spot in the front row and a variety of campaigns for you to direct your efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Sherry Schultz, followed by Eric Jackson.
Hi, my name is Sherry Schultz, and I live in Ward 3, Mr. Zelenka's ward. And greetings, and thank you for the opportunity to address you. I am an alumna of the University of Oregon, and loved my time in Eugene and have lived elsewhere, and I'm returning now. And I've lived here for a year, and I'm learning about the housing crisis in Eugene, and have formed an organization called Springfield Eugene Micro Dwellers, which are folks who are living or wanting to live in under 400 square feet, primarily for either housing affordability or belief in environmental sustainability, that both our planet and our town benefit when we can have livable density and have less of an impact on our climate, on our environment. And so I'm here to specifically today support reducing or eliminating barriers to ADUs. ADUs are a wonderful way to increase affordable housing in Eugene without, as was said before, there are many, many things that we need to do to increase the stock of affordable housing, of lower cost housing, of smaller housing, small scale housing in Eugene, and ADUs are one wonderful way to do that. Our group has been touring all sorts of different places where one can live under 400 square feet, and one of the themes that has emerged is that a lot of these places are not legal. They are not permitted by zoning. They are not permitted by whatever it is, but people have done them anyway, or they have been grandfathered in because they were once legal, but now they're not. But fortunately, some of these places still exist because they're grandfathered in. I wanted to read one statement from, well, I may not get to, from a person who created an ADU in his backyard. He said, "I didn't go the legal route with our ADU since bringing it up to code would be difficult and expensive, but we provide housing for a woman who needs it for $600, including utilities, garbage, Wi-Fi, internet, laundry, parking, a garden spot, and lots of lovely scenery." So I hope you can make the right decision on that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next is Eric Jackson, followed by Eric Parrish.
Eric Jackson, Ward 1. John, congratulations, Mr. Reese, on your retirement. I wish that I can say over the past year and change that we had accomplished much more. Standing. I've got a lot of standing. Standing in legal cases that everybody keeps talking about the cost to the city. I'd rather not have standing. I'd rather have a camp where people can be safe. Standing on criminal trespass 2 from April, standing on criminal trespass 2 from June, standing on criminal trespass 2 from July 3rd of this year that I just won by losing, or no, won by the city losing, because there was a hung jury. The cost to the city, $400 for Sergeant Smith, $400 for Officer Magnus, $400 for the prosecutor, $180 for the standby counsel that the city required, $400 for the Judge Spence, $180 for Officer Rafke, $180 for staff, not including the overhead of the building. You're over $2,100 to get a hung jury, because there wasn't convincing evidence that I was criminally trespassing. This will continue. These costs will continue to establish themselves. And when people on the streets find out that, wow, if you go to trial, you could actually not lose. That would be an interesting thing, especially when most of them are not asked to leave, and many of them are sleeping when they're woken up to get tickets. I think it's what goes, I once had a dream, and I woke up to a citation. I think the sign goes something like that, that was used years ago. One of the earlier speakers said legal words on paper. The city doesn't seem to respond to legal words on paper because the Ninth Circuit Court, Martin versus Boise, was pretty clear last year. But criminalization is not what you guys do. That's bullshit. Criminalization starts the second that 5 officers are standing over 6 people. Don't doubt it. Liability, consequences of actions with negligence foreseeable to be the detriment of the community. I should take a moment of silence, but silence wouldn't do for Annette Lorraine Montoro, who was run over by a Sanipack truck because there's no safe places to lead somebody to sleep. And she was shooed away from the church property at 6 p.m. but she felt she needed to stay local, and she did. She found the gap in the property. She thought she was pretty safe. Where she was is pitch black. I can't fault the driver. I fault all of you guys. I fault you for her death. I fault you for the rules that were made that caused her death. I hope you change.
Thank you. Next is Eric Parrish, followed by Jerry Harris.
Good evening, Council. My name is Eric Parrish, Eugene, Ward 5, and resident since 1981. I came here to support the Ferry Street Manor MUPD application. Has 3 keys. It's a local developer, local key project area, and a local need will be met through some of the housing. It's actually in between 2 opportunity zones, so there's limited investment and tax support from that federal program, hence some of the banking items are important in this project. It makes sense economically with long-term increased tax revenues, and I encourage your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being so fast. Next is Jerry Harris, followed by Malcolm Wilson.
My name is Jerry Harris, and I'm in Ward 2. That's your ward, Betty. Thank you all for your service. And before I start on my subject, I just wanted to say thank you to the climate recovery activists, the addiction recovery activists, and the homelessness recovery activists that have been speaking tonight. These are all important issues, and I agree with much of what they have to say. But tonight I'm here to support the MUPD application for Ferry Street Manor. This is a project that fits many of the criteria of the Envision Eugene process, and it also fits many of the criteria that we evaluate when we try to determine whether or not to expand the urban growth boundary. It's an infill project. It's a project that's close to jobs downtown. It's a job that will encourage people to walk and use public transportation. It's close to all the amenities that people that are going to live there and have or need. And it also is a development that will add units to the missing middle that we need in this community. And if you think about people moving up into the missing middle, that opens up housing for lower income people. So it will help this community. The income that comes from the tax when the MUPD expires is significant. And I can guarantee you that the city council that's sitting here in 10 years starting to realize that income will say thank you for this. Because as was said earlier, if this project does not go because they cannot make the financing requirements without MUPD, then it will be a parking lot. It won't get developed. You all know that the economy is starting to show signs of downturn, and you can be assured that there will not be anything there that will be built without a MUPD. So please consider approving this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Malcolm Wilson, followed by Matt McCray.
Councillors, my name is Malcolm Wilson, a resident of Councillor Zelenka's ward. I am also Director number 2 at large for the Upper Willamette Soil and Water Conservation District since last November. No doubt you voted for me. I want to thank you for your support. I'm sorry only to say that you didn't have more choice of viable candidates. This seems to be a good opportunity to provide a brief introduction to our work. The Upper Willamette District comprises over 2 million acres, around 3/4 of Lane County, and is a source of all the drinking water for the Eugene-Springfield area. Traditionally, the district has served the agricultural community, working within the Oregon Department of Agriculture to provide assistance to farmers and rural residents in keeping water safe from runoff contaminants. It is clear, however, that soil and water issues concern everybody and not just rural residents. A newly energized staff and board at the Upper Willamette is interested in extending our mission and partnering with a wide range of organizations with a more urban base, and that's why I'm here. In doing so, we are following a pattern developed by soil and water districts in the Portland area that have taken a more integrated and holistic approach to environmental quality issues. Details are forthcoming. For now, let this just serve as a briefest of introductions. We look forward to more in-depth conversations in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Matt McRae, followed by Elaine Barnum. Claire Barnum, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt McRae. I'm in Ward 1. I'd like to start by thanking City Manager for your service. I do hope you'll take up Jim New on that generous offer of a t-shirt. That will be fun to see. I want to thank you all for giving staff direction before your break to work toward a new agreement with Northwest Natural that goes alongside their franchise agreement. I hope you are encouraged by the fact that Berkeley has, as we heard earlier, that Berkeley has adopted a law preventing new buildings from hooking up to natural gas, and that Seattle is looking at something similar. You are in good company as you forge that path. I look forward to hearing about the progress being made on the negotiations with Northwest Natural. As you know, that the time is relatively short. I also want to comment that, as you all know, local climate and energy policy is closely intertwined with housing policy. The current decision about ADUs is no exception. Smaller homes like ADUs use less energy to heat and cool than larger buildings, and they provide people with affordable homes. As written, the code changes that are currently proposed would eliminate owner occupancy and parking minimums for ADUs, and that's a great step. However, in its current formation, the code would maintain a separate minimum lot size for ADUs. And I want to make a note here. In a search of 16 mid-sized cities, including all other cities in Lane County, none have a separate lot size minimum for ADUs. So we're very unique and out on a limb in that respect, and I hope you will take the proactive step of removing the minimum lot size for ADUs before you adopt the new language. Eugene is in the grip of a housing crisis that burdens a huge number of Eugene residents. You have the authority to make significant changes to enable more housing development in Eugene, housing that will help more residents find a home they can afford. After making these changes that constrain development of ADUs, I will hope you will continue the work. I hope you will reconsider the fuller list of restrictions, including arbitrary lot dimension rules, deeply constraining sloped setbacks, and full-sized system development charges for downsized homes. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Next is Claire Barnum, followed by Chad Barzak, I think. Barzak.
Hello, my name is Claire Barnum. I'm the Executive Director of Downtown Eugene, Inc., with our offices located in the downtown core. Downtown welcomes housing in our community. The proposed Ferry Street Manor is an exciting opportunity to bring more housing to the downtown area. Housing in walkable neighborhoods with access to transit and proximity to downtown are highly sought after. This project has all of those qualities. It is a well-known fact that denser settlement patterns are more energy efficient and positive for our environment. This project aligns well with the city's climate recovery ordinance, which aims to reduce fossil fuel from 2010 levels by 50% by the year 2030. So not only is this project bringing much needed housing development to a community that welcomes it, it is doing so in a way that promotes a more sustainable way of living. In fact, 70% of the units are 400 square feet in size and all electric. Please approve the MUPD application for the Ferry Street Manor, a project that meets or exceeds all MUPD criteria and would generate significantly more tax revenue than it can in its current state. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker leave, or? No. Oh, no. Okay, last speaker of the evening is Chad Barzak. You could pronounce that correctly.
My name is Chad Barzak. I'm Ward 2. I'm the CEO of IDX, a local software company here on the corner of Oak and Broadway. We have 75 employees downtown. I'm here tonight to encourage you to support the recent MUPTI application for the proposed Ferry Street Manor. Affordable and close-in housing in the downtown area is critical for our business as we continue to hire new employees in years to come. We have a goal of increasing our headcount in our current location aggressively. In order to allow this to happen, we have some challenges related to both parking and housing that really need to be solved before we can do that in that location. By approving this MUPTI application, you would help solve two core problems in the downtown area from my perspective, parking and housing. If more of our employees were able to live downtown, as some already do, they would more likely not own a car and walk or take alternative transportation to work. This not only eases the demand for parking spaces long-term, but also creates less congestion, pollution, and promotes downtown and Eugene as a more walkable and eco-friendly community. From a financial and job standpoint, this also makes a lot of sense for us. Not only will the city of Eugene gain significant revenue from the property taxes after the exemption period that would otherwise not have been realized without MUPTI, but it will show that you have given considerable thought to the long-term sustainability of our downtown. This will also have the added benefit of assisting downtown businesses such as IDX with the tools we need to bring more family wage jobs to the downtown core. I appreciate your consideration in this application and a vote of confidence in your vote of confidence in downtown businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all. It's been an inspiring evening. I want to comment on everything, and I will recognize councilors soon, but I want to first give some information about 5G, which is a matter of concern to so many people, and I think that people don't realize what is being done now. And I want to I asked the city attorney to give me some information about what the situation is up to now. And so I'm going to take the opportunity to speak first and then let my colleagues speak. People seem to think we're not doing what we can do. And I'm going to pretty much read what the city attorney has written. The FCC, Federal Communication Commission, small cell wireless order interpret federal law in a way that greatly restricted local control over the installation of small cell facilities.
Microphone, Betty.
Oh, sorry. I was getting it out of my way, including 5G equipment with our right-of-way. The orders include the FCC interpretation of the Federal Telecommunications Act that states no local government regulation may prohibit or have the effect of prohibiting the provision of service to mean the local government cannot impose a ban or even a short-term moratorium, and that's something we've been asked about a lot, on construction or deployment of small cell facilities. The order also requires local governments to proceed and act on small cell applications within a short time and limit compensation for use of public right-of-way. The city of Eugene, however, is doing a number of things, is doing and has done. The city, together with the city of Portland and over 80 other local communities, has appealed FCC orders. And in general, the local government petitioners are arguing that the FCC ordinances are unreasonable and not supported by the law of record, and are seeking to have the order vacated in its entirety. The case has been consolidated, and it's currently pending in the Ninth Circuit Court. We are part of that case. We have recently completed our legal briefing and are awaiting the schedule of oral arguments, which we believe may occur in December 2019 or early 2020. And incidentally, it will not be deployed during that time, and I'm running out of time, but I've got a little more here. The FCC's 2018 order also cites the federal statute that prohibits local governments from regulating wireless facilities based on radio frequency emissions if the facility complies with the FCC regulations concerning emissions. However, local governments can impose reasonable aesthetic requirements. But apparently I don't think the aesthetic requirements are the most important to the people who are concerned. But in April, council did adopt a resolution modeled after the City of Portland's resolution requesting the federal government's updates to update studies on potential health risks and public findings. About a month ago, the FCC chairman, with input from the FDA, proposed to maintain current radio frequency exposure safety standards, and that has not yet been finalized. 5G has not yet been deployed, and we are doing what we can. So that's up-to-date information. Now, I'm sure that councilors want to speak about other things. Councilor Pryor.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody who came out tonight. That was great. I'm glad a couple of the folks from Oregon Recover are here because in a previous life I worked in addiction recovery, and it was a very eye-opening experience, and it actually led to a lot of the perspectives I have today. And one of those is that addiction and recovery is one area where the condition and the behavior actually converge, and one actually significantly influences the other and vice versa. And if you can get a handle on even one side or the other, it can have a profound impact. And so I agree with you. It can be one of those tipping points that can have an enormous impact. So whatever we can do to work specifically on addiction can have an impact on both the condition and the behavior side. So it's important to do that. Normally, I don't respond to editorials or articles in the paper, but the one that came out a couple of days ago about fresh voices needed in City Hall, I've gotten a couple of emails from people who have been kind of perplexed and wanted us to justify what's going on. And so I thought I would respond for a moment about some of the factual inaccuracies in the editorial. People are entitled to their opinion, and I am certainly not going to in any way comment on the writer's opinion about what we do up here. That's great. That's Eugene. But there were some factual inaccuracies in the story that I want to make sure are corrected. The first one, and probably, I can't go into all of them, but probably the one that is the largest, is the notion that the City Council has purchased the eWeb office building. That is factually wrong. We do not own the eWeb office building. We have never owned the eWeb office building. They wouldn't give it to us, so we don't have it for free. We can't move into it tomorrow for free. In fact, they would want, it's been evaluated and appraised, and they would want many millions of dollars from us to purchase it. So we don't own it. We can't move in there tomorrow for free. It does not belong to us. A second one probably is the notion that we tore down the old City Hall because we woke up one morning and decided to tear down the old City Hall because we didn't like it anymore. People have probably forgotten, maybe some people weren't even here at the time, that eWeb shut off the steam heat system that provided heating to a lot of the buildings in downtown, including City Hall. In other words, the building had no heat and would not have heat. And we could have paid many millions of dollars to put in a heating system, but it didn't seem like a wise investment of money to put many millions of dollars worth of a heating system into an unreinforced cinder block building that we had been told many times over would collapse in even a relatively minor earthquake event. So rather than spend many millions of dollars on retrofitting heating and reinforcements and everything else into, this is my editorial opinion, an ugly building, we decided to go over again. And we would have had a City Hall by now if we hadn't got entangled in some other things. So there was a plan at the time. And I will stop right now because I could go into more factual inadequacies in the story. But I just wanted to let you know it's not an accurate editorial, and take that with a grain of salt.
Councilor Semple.
Thank you. Wow, so many important things were brought up tonight, and we have a lot of work to do. I do want you to know that we are all working, even though it's very frustrating. It's frustrating for us, too. I appreciate the work for more recovery opportunities. I'm a widow because my husband drank himself into suicide. So obviously it's important to me. The topic I really want to talk about, though, is sleeping outside at night. I was out of town when the woman was crushed in the parking lot. I was able to only get online for a couple of minutes, but I did see that fact, and of course it really shook me up. I walked to work today and passed an umbrella in a doorway, and I could see that there was a person and a dog under it. It's raining really, really hard today, and people are sleeping outside. I started advocating for the homeless in 2011. I'm the one who wrote that sign that said, "Last night I had a dream, and when I woke up, I got a ticket. Lift the camping ban." We need a place for people to sleep. We needed it years ago, and we desperately need it now. Egan is not enough. It's not cold, but it's pouring. And even if it's 58 degrees, if you're wet, you're cold. We need to do something. We need to do something sooner. We need a shelter. We need bathrooms and showers also. But our people are sleeping outside on our streets downtown, and they're dying, and they're going to keep dying, whether they're drinking or not. I don't know what the solutions are, but I don't want people to think that we have quit or given up. So hang in there. And one thing I'd really appreciate is when people write to me and send me pictures of horrific things, send me an idea, send me a solution, send me a location. Because this isn't something that I can do by myself or the 8 of us can do by ourselves. It takes all of us. So please help me and, I don't know, get more umbrellas. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speak? Okay, that concludes the public hearing. And next item is a consent calendar.
Oh, I have a motion.
Joe.
Ready?
Ready?
Comment.
Did you want to?
No, I was consent calendar.
I think,
Oh, thank you.
no, I'll wait till she reads the motion.
Isn't the approval, excuse me.
To approve the consent.
Okay, I move to approve the items on the consent calendar.
Second.
They included a lot of stuff.
Yes. And Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. I'd like to pull items, certainly, I'm reading item E. Based on what I know at the moment, I want to pull item E. I'm trying to decide whether C and D should be pulled as well. Yeah, just item E.
Item D.
E.
E.
E is an echo.
Edward. Anything else?
Echo.
Okay, then vote now on all items except item E. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And Councilor Clark?
Thank you. We have historically been willing to, if we had, for example, consent calendar consideration at the first meeting, wait until we had sufficient time for people to address a concern specifically about annexation before we voted on it. One's been expressed via email in this note to us on item number E, and it is suggested in that other neighbors who are unaware yet would have concerns as well. I'd like to give them the chance to at least speak to us at the public forum one time before we vote on that issue. So my first question is to City Manager, is there a timing issue that requires this to be voted on tonight?
Good evening. I'm Dan Halverson, Senior Planner with Planning Development.
Melissa Hansen with Planning as well.
Yeah, there is, if you're going to have a public hearing, this would be, you'd have to set the date and time for that. There's certainly a noticing period that we'd have to do, which is, I think, 30 days. And we did look at a possible time of October 28th. I think that would be the first meeting you could get it to.
I'm not suggesting that we should create an entire separate public hearing. I'm suggesting that we wait in 2 weeks until our next council meeting like this, where concerned neighbors might have the opportunity to come and speak at public forum before we vote on a consent item, at least have some kind of ability to speak. So I guess that's my motion, is to postpone until after the next council meeting with a public forum.
I'll second.
So the next meeting of the public forum is September 23rd. And so one option would be.
Is there an undue financial hardship from waiting until that time?
So
Sorry, we're consulting and whispering.
Sure.
We're looking at, so what we have in front of us right now is Eugene City Code, Chapter 9, that talks about your annexation procedures. And you have an option, so the two options are adopting the resolution approving, modifying, and approving or denying the application, or vote to defer action on such a resolution until after it holds a public hearing on the proposed annexation. And then there's some requirements. And you're proposing something different, and we were just trying to figure out how that fits properly in the code. I think because there's no timeline on acting on this, you can just postpone. Yep, go ahead.
May I suggest that my motion is to postpone to a date certain this particular action item? It is not to create a public hearing.
Yes, that's exactly what I think. So, and if you, I'm sorry, go ahead, John. If you want to just move to postpone until, do you want to act at that public on the September 23rd?
Sounds fine to me.
Okay, so if you want to make a motion to postpone action until September 23rd.
Done.
That's what he did.
That's what she seconded, right?
Second. You seconded.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Councilor Siret, did you want to speak to that?
Sure, thank you. I'm perfectly in support of Councilor Clark's motion. I think it's very simple. I think he's just suggesting we put it on that night's consent agenda.
So now
and
that
I would
people
just,
know, yeah.
I did have a chance to glance through this one email that was sent to us, and the person's not really objecting to the annexation so much as making some pertinent points about parking requirements and impacts on surrounding neighborhoods from our parking requirements, which I appreciate receiving. My understanding is there would not be any harm in postponing our vote on this for 2 weeks. I know staff's been working hard, and folks out in the River Road community organization have been working hard and connected with all the neighbors who were immediately impacted, but it's not going to hold up anybody's development or anything like that. So I will support Councilor Clark's motion.
Sounds simple. Okay, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Thank you. And that concludes the meeting. Thank you.